Well, as I said last time, there was a 30-year age gap between my parents. My mother was 20 when she got married, and my father was 50. My grandfather and father fought together in the First World War, the 1914-1918 war. Um, I I don't remember any time in my younger years when they were actually talking nicely to each other. It was always very abusive. It wasn't nice at all. When I was younger, all I can remember is lots of nightmares, and I became a bit of an escape artist. I found that I could sneak away now and again and get out and go down the road and escape. I guess it was because I just didn't like being around it all. There's the story of my father driving one of his trucks, probably 3 or 4 k's down the highway out of town, noticing a young child and realising it was me. It's another one of my adventures. They obviously, my mother and father talked about this a bit, and they came up with a perfect solution. In those days it was common to have like a harness on children with a lead coming off it, much like a dog does, so you could sort of hold on to your child and they wouldn't run away into traffic or something like that, I guess. But they came up with the idea. We had one of the long clotheslines, with the props at the end and things like that. So they just hooked the harness onto the clothesline. So my days were sort of spent running up and down the clothesline, and maybe a metre on each side I could sort of spend, and it wasn't very much fun, but I remember I didn't enjoy it during duck shooting season. My father never went duck shooting or anything, but everyone gave him ducks and swans and geese and that, and they'd be hanging from the clothesline by their necks until they went to the butcher, or my mother plucked them, or whatever happened to them. I'm pretty sure that added to the nightmares a little bit as well. But sort of, my father, he left all the discipline up to my mother, and there was a bit of a joke, so I could get away with a fair bit of things and stuff like that. But I remember quite clearly, actually, the day that my brother and my sister, one of my sisters and brother-in-law, we all went out swimming in one of the local water holes. I remember it because they never used to take me anywhere, as they were so much older than me. But when I came back, Mum wasn't there, and that was nothing unusual, but it took a couple of weeks before I realised, she wasn't coming back. I sort of went into a room which was separate from my father's room, and it had all been emptied out, and I sort of had to work it all out for myself. I was 6 at the time, so it was a fair bit to sort of work around and stuff like that. I knew I wasn't allowed to mention my mother's name or anything to my father or anything, so because he didn't like the thought of her being mentioned at all. Actually, he was quite happy with her name never being mentioned again in the house. But I did have a friend or someone tell me later on in life that the story was that my father had saved my grandfather in the war, My grandfather, he suffered mustard gas poisoning and very nearly died, but apparently my father saved him somehow, and as a reward many years later he gave him his daughter. So I don't know whether it's true or not, but I got no reason to disbelieve it, because I know that my mother and my grandfather lived in the same town for 20 years and went out of their way not to speak to each other. If one saw the other coming down the street, one would cross over or go into a shop or something. And there was a lot of animosity. After my mother left, my grandfather started visiting again, so, you know, maybe it was true, who knows. But that's something else that's interesting about my life anyway. So thank you.